All right, welcome everyone. Let's see how many do you have online right now. Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's some delay. So for everyone who joined, welcome to our Beyond Insights webinar held in conjunction with Mumu. So for today, we'll be covering a hot topic, which is the Deepseek impact, risks, and opportunities. Just bear in mind, I'm presenting via Zoom, and this is live feed to YouTube as well as to Mumu live feature. And there will be some delay. So when I talk, there'll be some delay before I can see your response. So it may feel a bit weird when I ask you a question, and there will be a couple of seconds before I respond on that, right? So just bear that in mind. Yes. So we have a team of staff who is also supporting this event today on both the Mumu site as well as the YouTube Live. They will help respond to the questions that you have, and they will bring up to me if they think that is something related to this topic, right? So if you're asking questions on other topics, they will have to answer that, or you can wait until the end where I will have a Q&A session. So I may take around 30 minutes to 35 minutes to present what I want to share. Plus, I will be doing some live chart review on the impact, right? And after that, I'll be sharing some of the useful Mumu features that can help you identify the core-related stocks related to this impact as well. So are you ready, right? So if you're ready, type a 1. If you're ready, type a 1. Yeah. The chat. Yeah. Type a 1 on the chat. And I also like to know how many of you are our Beyond Insight students, right? So if you are Beyond Insight students, you've typed yes. Yeah, why? You're a Beyond Insight student, type yes. If you're not, just type N, right? So at least I know what else your background, because I'll be sometimes communicating, things related to our strategy or things our student already know. But if I know there's a lot of non-student, you type a no, at least I know how many of you I may need to elaborate some of the terms that you may not be familiar with. Okay, great, welcome. Yeah, so we have a lot of our students here. Okay, so right now, I want to clarify that what I cover today is not an in-depth research about what Deepseek is about, how is Deepseek, versus ChatGPT or versus Gemini. Yeah, I'm looking at it from an investor perspective and trader's perspective, right? What is the impact to the stock? Because if I cover that, then I will have no time to cover the most important aspect to investor and trader. I hope you understand. And if you go to YouTube, right, there will be tons of resources that actually analyze the differences from a technical perspective and usability perspective of DeepSeek versus ChatGPT versus Gemini and other models. Okay, right. All right, so our goal today is to look at the risks and the opportunities that you need to manage, right? So let's say, for example, you are holding specific stocks that are already impacted by the DeepSeek earlier, and you're deciding, oh, what do I do with that, right? So, and also, are there opportunities, right, from this pullback? Like those are the ones that we want to address, but also bear in mind that Beyond Insights and also Mumu, right? We are here to educate you. We run this seminar to educate more people about the stock market. Okay, so we are not here to give a specific investment advice on buy and sell, right? And we are not accountable for any risk as a result of that. So we are an educator here. We don't have investment advisor license, right? We want to educate the public properly. And one of the reasons we don't give tips is because do you agree that the market is very dynamic, right? So what we share today can change tomorrow. For example, yesterday we have the CPI announcement, right? It could have changed things. So this is why we want to make sure that our students are educated to be able to react to those circumstances and have proper risk management. Okay, so you need to take accountable for your own decision making. All right, so let's jump into what is Deepseek, right, at a high level, so that you get a summary in case you haven't read up anything or you have read up about it. Then this will be just a quick summary. So this Deepseek is actually it started from a Chinese AI company, but it was pretty new, right? It was just founded in 2023, right, just 2 years ago by Lian Wenfang. Yeah, and it's headquartered in Hangzhou, Zhejiang. So why is it such a big fuss, right? It has been capturing a lot of media attention, right? So the reason it has gained significant media attention is because it developed advanced AI model at a fraction of the cost. And this rival those US big tech like, Microsoft, OpenAI especially, right? Because Microsoft is using OpenAI model. Amazon, and also Meta, which has a Llama model, and also Google Gemini. Okay? The biggest contrast here that create attention is the speed of the development as well as the cost of the development. Okay? So this DeepSeek has many versions, just like OpenAI, right? But the version 3 is the one that create a lot of attention. It has surpassed OpenAI ChatGPT to become the top free application downloaded on Apple Store. Okay? So it's like a free publicity. Even Gemini may not be as popular, right? By right, Gemini should be ranked after ChatGPT, right? Given that one is Microsoft, the other one is from Google. But Gemini is not having as much attention. Okay? So there's a link here that actually have the details. But let's look at what was actually the most important thing that we need to take note of on this, right? Rather than going into too much in-depth about the technicalities between the few models. The DeepSeek approach actually covers, it emphasizes on the algo efficiency, but it's more on the inferencing. You see, when people develop AI, there's 3 parts. One, you need to do, number one is the data preparation, right? You need a lot of data to train the model. Like secondly, you need to do the training, right? Data prep, then training, and after that it's called inferencing. Okay. So the DeepSeek major accomplishment is on the inferencing. Yeah. So where it emphasizes the algorithm efficiency, and the most important part is an open source, right? And this was a surprise where, we understand the competition between US and China when it comes to AI development. And we thought that, people want to keep it secret, just like OpenAI model is actually closed model. So we would expect that probably China will keep it closed, but they have it open model, right? That was actually a big surprise. And it also shared the generosity from the company to really want to open it up for more advancement in AI, right? Let's look at the graph here, which is one of the important contrasts, where DeepSeek model used a fraction of the cost of the ChatGPT 4 model. So instead of 100 million, they're only using 6 million. Of course, this cost has been debated a lot of times where people were wondering whether is this the real actual cost, right? What about the training costs earlier? Have they used a lot of money to do that? But our goal here is not to go into that level of debate, right? Because irrespective of the cost of the development right now, right, all the major players, including OpenAI, Microsoft, Gemini, and even Amazon, Jeff Bezos, recognize that DeepSeek has a great model, right? So that's also important, right? They can argue about the cost to develop it, which also are recognized to be more efficient, just like people challenge that, is it really that little? Okay. So why does it become such a major impact to the US stock market, especially those related to data center or GPU chip? Is because of this chart here, right? If it doesn't require so much to develop, what does it mean? I'd like you to think about it. What does it mean to company that is related to the data center, as well as company who are using AI as well, and the company that are producing the GPU? What do you think will be the impact to them, especially the demand? Yeah, I'd like you to type on the chat. What do you think? Yeah, can I have this to be more interactive? Although I know I need to wait for a few seconds, yeah, for you to respond. Yeah, this is not a download session. Okay, looks like not much response here, or not aware what will happen. Okay, so when it is not requiring so much GPU power, do you think NVIDIA will have as much sales, right? There'll be as much demand for NVIDIA GPU. Do you think you will need as much data center, right? That was the question that a lot of people asked. And this is the main concern that caused the stocks for NVIDIA and many data center stocks to come down. But in fact, some of the software stock went up. Okay. Yeah. So what is the, there's only one reply here, less computing resources as predicted, right? So I'd like you to understand this is the way I like to teach, which is to ask questions so that students can learn at a deeper rather than being spoon-fed, because the market is dynamic. You need to learn how to think independently over time, right? Yeah. So as a result, less computing resource, you will need less computing resources. Then who is providing the computing resources, right? So it could be the CPU provider, the GPU provider. right? GPU provider, because for AI, you need a lot of GPU, yeah, graphics processing unit. And who are the main provider for GPU? Right? Do you know who are the main provider for GPU? Right? Yeah, NVIDIA is number one, right? The top, then followed by, who is second? Yeah, do you know who is second? Second is quite far away from NVIDIA, which is AMD is still in the process of developing, but it's very far out. And Intel is very, very far behind. They haven't got one that is that can even catch up with the AMD, right? Yeah, so because of that, you can see there's an impact. Later, I will show you the stock chart, right? There's an impact to the NVIDIA stocks. And if you need less processing power, that means you will need less chip. It will also need less server. Make sense? Right? So when you need less server, then whoever vendor that provide the server will also be impacted. Right? So who are the vendor that provide server? Okay, who are the vendor that provide server? Right, and the whole ecosystem within the box, right? The server box for the data center. There are many providers. Of course, you need a CPU, which is Intel and AMD, and NVIDIA is also having their own CPU chip for data center. And you have the network provider, right? The networking chip provider, which is Avago, right? I mean, Broadcom, I would say, Broadcom and Marvell. And you have the memory chip, which is Micron. And you have all those ecosystem in the data center, which is all the racks, okay? The power supply, the cooling systems, the infrastructure. So all this is a chain reaction of the ecosystem that will be impacted as well. Right? So all these went down together on that. Yeah, yes. So some of you responded, SMCI as well. Okay. Yeah. So this is the main impact. But let's look at the AI model, the positive and the negative impact here. So there is also positive impact, right? The positive impact is it increased the AI accessibility. Now that if it's more affordable, then many more companies can afford to do it, right? Not just the big guys. If it costs billions and billions of dollars, then only the big tech can do it. Yeah, like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, which can spend billions and billions of dollars. So now it become more accessible. It's a good news, right? But it also means more competition. Okay, yeah, more people can afford means more competition. And the other one is it also means to us, right? When is going to be lesser cost for the software company, means us as a user, right? I mean, how many of you are using some sort of LLM, yeah, large language model, which is like ChatGPT or Gemini or Deepseek right now, right? There are many more models out there. Yeah. So if you're using, then we also want the cost to be cheaper to us in the future. If it's going to cost billions and billions of dollars to provide this service, eventually Microsoft, Google is going to charge us back, right, on the ChatGPT and the Gemini as well. Okay, so we were looking forward to a cheaper implementation at the end. Okay, then this is where it will impact the end user. When it costs less, it's also help them to improve the profit margin. That's why on that day itself, the GPU and all the hardware infrastructure provider stocks came down, but software provider stocks came up, right? So it's the other way around. And this also helped to accelerate the global AI development, right? So if everyone start to have a closed source, then they develop their own, there's no sharing, then everyone have to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so this can help out accelerate the global development. And it's also increased the efficiency where you don't have to learn things from scratch, right? You can build on top what is already existing, okay? But what is the negative impact? The most significant is a threat to the established players, right? So in the past, not many people can compete with the big guys, yeah, because it costs too much to provide this service. But now it's a threat to them. And the race between US and China will be more intense, right? Which is the last bullet here, more intense AI race between US and China. So US has been having sanction on NVIDIA chip and also AMD, right? They do not want NVIDIA and AMD to export the most powerful AI chip to China. And they thought that this will slow down China development. So this news become a very big news that even Donald Trump, mentioned that, oh, America need to wake up and, speed up the AI development. And so because of the big threat to established player and the impact to the ecosystem, it will cause a revaluation of AI stock, right? People will look at it. If the new AI model is not going to take up so much processing power, right? Is NVIDIA, AMD, as well as all those data center growth projections Is it still valid, or does it require a revaluation, right? That means, is it really worth so much? Let's say before this happened, before Deepseek news came up, NVIDIA's growth rate would be higher, right? Projection would be higher, and all the data center related stocks would be higher. But with this, people are re-evaluating, is it going to be worth so much, right? That's why there's an adjustment. Okay, it doesn't mean it's going to be a doomsday. You just need to know, okay, how much does it need to adjust to be considered, okay, it's fair value again for me to go back in. Yeah, it doesn't mean those companies are bad stock. Okay, you no longer want it. It's still high growth stock. It just may not be growing as high as before, but it's still high growth. Okay. And the third bullet here shows that there is a perceived overspending by the US firm. So they are looking at, maybe they're looking at laughable, like, oh, China only take up just a few millions, but US is spending so much money. It's not efficient. And when it's not efficient means they are not so profitable, right? The net profit margin is not as high as it should. All right, so now let's look at the market impact on the Deepseek. This one I was capturing it last week when I was sharing this presentation. This week, the chart moves a little bit, okay, which I will show you the latest chart in a short while. There are many, many events, so we need to make sure that we decipher the event properly, okay? The market is not only impacted by Deepseek alone. After that, there are many, many more events, right? So starting from the earlier September until now, you can see here, let me use my pen here. Right, you can see earlier there was a bullish cycle. Then we have a big dip here, right? So this was the first drop, which was caused by the FOMC projection. Okay, this is outside of today's topic, but I just want to share with you the bigger picture of the US market impact so far. Okay, so after this dip, because the interest rate cut is expected to be lesser than expected into 2025. It caused a correction. And after that, the US stock market went into a downtrend, right? So why is it a downtrend? You can see is, going down in this yo-yo like this. Okay. But after that, it recovered. Okay. It did recover here. When after Trump inauguration, this is January 20th, right? Trump is on board. So there's a positive sentiment after he's on board because he started announcing many, many policies. However, not long after that, you have this Deepseek news coming, right? So there was a gap down over here. Okay, you can see this gap down. Market close here and open here, right? Open here. For those of you who are totally new to trading, right? So you may not understand this so-called gapping risk. Gapping risk, the previous day, the market closed here, right? Red color candle, close at the bottom, and green color candle, open at the bottom here. So this is a big gap. And depending on the stock, some of the stock came down like 20%. Okay, some of the stock came down 20%. Yeah. So after that, can you see here? It did recover. So why does it recover? Okay, there's a few reasons for that. One is those who understand the industry and the impact, right, will see this as an opportunity in crisis. Okay, in this crisis, if they understand that this is over penalized, they could have buy some stock here, or people could be trading intraday here, like not leaving overnight. And after that, wait and see for the earnings announcement. With this big gap down, what do you think is the most important thing that people are worried about? Right? What do you think is the most important thing people are worried about? Yeah, they may be worried that. Okay, I saw some questions from the YouTube on Huawei. I will answer that in a short while. Right, they'll be worrying whether there will be a lower demand for NVIDIA chip, okay, or lower demand for data center. This is the main concern for Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. And so happened that particular week, so it couldn't have been timed so well. Right after that, there's Microsoft earnings. That's why I share here. There's Microsoft earnings and Meta earnings on the same day. And they reiterate the investment on the data center. Okay. And after that, there's Google earning, which also emphasize, in fact, their what do you call it? Their investment commitment for investment in data center is actually higher. Okay, on the all those new machines and so on. And Amazon also announced that, right? So after that, there's an employment report where the inflation expectation was higher than expected, with bring it down on that day. Okay, so there's a mixed reaction here. May not be Amazon earnings did disappoint because they increased a lot of the AI data center investment, which erode their profit margin. Right, people worried that it may erode the profit margin. So there's some negative news there. But the one that really bring down the market is the employment report. Yeah, because it already start to come down before market open. Okay, and in between there's news on Trump announcing tariff. Right, so there's a mixture of Deepseek as well as the tariff. Okay, but the tariff wasn't that much of a negative news, because over the weekend, right over here, there's a weekend in between here. There's a weekend in between. Trump originally announced the tariff on Mexico, Canada, and China, okay, which is 25% on Mexico and China. Sorry, Mexico and Canada, and for China is 10% on top of whatever is already implemented before, right? Which should be a negative news. But on the Monday, it gapped down here first. Can you see here? It gaps down. Right, that means from here, right? It closed here, then it gapped down to open here. There's a gap. Some people may look at this as a gap. That's not the gap. Okay, the gap is from the close to the open, right? Which is much bigger. It's because after some negotiation with Mexico and Canada PM, Prime Minister, so they have some deals, and Trump decided to delay the implementation by 1 month. So the market see it as positive. That means they see that Trump probably using tariff as a negotiation tactic. He may not be really seriously wanted to implement it or implement it at full scale, right? He may use it as a bargaining power. So market sentiment recovered. Understand? So when you come to earnings season and macro factors, it's hard to see the real mix. But the good news is this, because I think the market sentiment has a big part, right? 40%, those of you who have attended our symposium, Beyond Insight Symposium, where we talk about, it's a whole day session where we talk about the macro trends and the industry mega trend. You'll know that 40% of the stock market is affected by what? The macro events. What are macro events? For example, the FOMC, right? Federal Reserve interest rate announcement, or like the fiscal policy, like Trump's announcement on the policy, like tariff, right? So it's 40% macro impacted market, then 30% is the industry. So what is industry impact? Industry impact is like the Deepseek. Deepseek is an industry impact. So when you see this news, it impacts the entire industry related to data center and cloud computing, like software, the related chips, and also the real estate, okay? Those who build the data center, the construction also will be impacted. Right? This is an industry impact, which is 30%. No matter what stock you are, then it will still be impacted. Then the 30% is the company specific impact, which is, for example, NVIDIA will be impacted differently compared to the Vistra, right? And also VRT. These are the power infrastructure stocks. Yeah, differently from stocks like CRM, which are the software side, okay, or Microsoft. Okay, so it's important to understand what affect the market. Yeah. Okay, so now let's move on. Let me answer the questions on the YouTube first. Will Huawei be a competitor for this AI? Is DeepSeek using Huawei chip? Based on what I have read, it is not. It's still using NVIDIA chip. Okay. Huawei doesn't have a chip right now that is competing with NVIDIA yet. And one of the important thing that you need to understand about NVIDIA, right? Right now, NVIDIA is still having a few years lead compared to other GPU, right? The second one is AMD, they have a few. But in terms of the, what do you call that? The software layer, right? They have something called CUDA, right? CUDA is a software libraries that interact with the hardware level, right? Example, and this one, they already started developing almost like 19 years ago, right? So they have a big advantage, right? They started doing that when the GPU was mainly used for gamer, right? And let me keep it more layman. Assuming you have the hardware, let's say this is a mouse, okay? This is a mouse. So in order to move the mouse, right? Your software, let's say I move my mouse, right? So then you see the button changing, right? Let's say here, it says changing, right? Someone have to program that move, okay? So if they don't have a library like CUDA, right? All the programmer will for every application will have to program the low-level language, right? So the NVIDIA have a layer on top of that interact with the hardware, so that the AI developer only need to go for the high-level development, and this is actually very important, and it will speed up a lot the development. I've actually listened to one of the YouTube channel that analyzed this, which is the person actually the person actually works for NVIDIA, and there was a question on whether does it make sense for people to not use CUDA. Then he says he don't understand why people would not want to use that, because you have to write so much low-level language and it will slow down your development. Yeah, so from a China perspective, to speed up the AI development, model development, they will still use CUDA, and Deepseek is using CUDA. However, to mitigate the risk of US sanction, right, in case one day they cannot use NVIDIA chip at all, then I'm sure that in China, they are speeding up the development for their own GPU. But you see, even if you can come up with a GPU, it takes time to come up with more stable software libraries to work with your GPU. So the Huawei cannot only work on the GPU that compete with NVIDIA, they also have to work on the libraries, the software libraries that make AI development easier. Okay, it will take time. So at the meantime, NVIDIA still have the advantage, right? So this is what you need to see. Then you have more confidence that it's not a doomsday for NVIDIA. Okay. On top of that, one very important part is, let me show you one important slide first, okay, which is very, very important. Okay, the next question. China going to flood the world with AI like EV? Okay. Okay, let me share this first, then I will answer that, because it will make more sense to you after that. So US and China is in the AI race. In fact, Europe is very behind as well, and it's a hard time for them to catch up. So remember, one of the biggest concerns for Deepseek is whether the big tech in the US will still need to spend so much, right? Since this is earnings announcement season for the past 2 weeks, right? People are watching for this. Like, in fact, this is the most important part of the earnings report I'm looking at. Okay, most important part is CAPEX for all these companies, right? Capital investment. And the good news is all these companies are increasing, not just stay flat, they are increasing investment. Okay, so you can see here, Microsoft, 80 billion, Alphabet, 75 billion, Amazon is the highest, 100 billion, and Meta, 65 billion. So what does it tell you? Are they reducing, or are they investing even more on AI data center? Right? But why do you think they do so? Yeah, when they hear about DeepSeek needing lesser resource, why do you think they will still invest so much? Yeah, I'd like to hear from you as well. Why do you think you still invest so much? Okay, yes, they want to stay ahead. Assuming that you see, DeepSeek has no choice, right? Because of China, right, has no choice to use the best GPU chip, even though they know it's faster, because US doesn't allow NVIDIA and AMD to export their latest high-end chip, right? The purpose is to slow down China AI development. So they have no choice. But what I realize is survival is a mother of invention, right? So when you're in a survival stage, you have no choice and you need to speed up. Just like when Japan just finished the World War II, right? They were sort of abandoned by the world, right? Nobody want to buy Japan products at that time. So they have to reinvent themselves. And after that, there's a lot of invention on the car, right? But of course, now they fall behind again. So same for China. When you can't use the latest, then you tend to spend more effort into improving the efficiency of your model so that you use less resources. Okay. But how much resources are being used for the training? I personally don't think that it's that little, right? Okay, so there's a lot of debate on that. They think that the initial training of the model actually costs more money. And the company behind this, right, even though it says started, in the 2023, the founder actually have a company that does quant trading, right, related to us, right? He's doing quantitative trading, that means automated trading research. And he probably already using AI research for a long time. And that's why he has made a lot of money from there. He can fund this and make this an open source. And he's not he's not in a rush to make money from DeepSeek. Okay, as a result of that, he could have made a lot of money. Like who knows? Right? Who knows? He could have shorted some of the US stocks right before the announcement, right? Knowing the impact, right? Just quote unquote. So this is a because he's a trader himself, right? He actually runs a trading firm, and because he has started using AI for some time, right? Probably he used AI for analytics on what to trade for his firm. So during the early days before the sanction, he could have bought a lot of NVIDIA chip. Like nobody will know about that because it's not published. So in China, a lot of the reports, company reports are not available, and is even if it's available, not many are audited. So nobody will know the actual number of servers used, right? So but for US, if you are competing with each other, right? So American company are not just competing with China company, they are competing among themselves, right? Just these four itself are competing with each other. So do you think that they want the fastest chip? Okay, they want. And one very important part from the Alphabet earnings announcement is they are having more demand than they can cope with. Yeah, example, in a layman term, I say a lot of demand for Google Cloud. Okay, let's say there's a lot of storage that's needed, right, for all our Google Drive, and they couldn't cope with that already, and that's the reason why they buy more. Okay, that's one of the reason. The second part is the data center demand. So if you understand this, then you will know that the pullback is actually a great opportunity. So let me share with you what it means here. Right, the first part I hope you understand. Right, the big guys are still investing, so it means that will provide a support for these stocks like NVIDIA, okay? Because it reassures that there's still a demand for NVIDIA and the data center stock. The next one is very important as well. If you look at this chart here, I shared this during the Beyond Insights Symposium for the data center topic. Yeah, this is from Goldman Sachs Research. You can see here the demand for data center, a significant part of it is from the non-AI. Okay, look at this. This is US exclude AI is this much. AI is only this much by 2030. Right now, where we are here only, right? So the percentage for the AI is actually very little, the current demand. The demand comes later. But despite the future, a significant part of the demand comes from cloud computing itself, something that's non-AI. What do you mean by cloud computing? For example, more and more companies are moving towards, for example, Microsoft Office productivity, right? Microsoft 365 is actually hosted on a server that require data center. Okay, and all our Google Drive, okay, all our emails are stored on the central server, right? If you are using Apple, right, the iCloud, right, is on the data center. All these already have significant demand, and the big data, right, which we talked about during the symposium megatrend as well, data is growing forever, right? It's going to be higher. Is it going to shrink? No, right? Data is increasing, and where do we store this data? In data center, right? That demand itself is much, much, much bigger than AI itself. Okay, but people panic when they see this news and they thought it's doomsday for the data center growth, right? That's not true. Without AI, you can see, without AI, data center demand is still there. Just that AI add on more demand to that, right? So if you understand this, then you know that this panic is a bit overrun, okay? That means over panic, yeah. Yeah, so then the other part is this is rest of the world demand, right? The rest of the world demand is even higher than the US, yeah? And with the AI, it's just this part. And one more very important part, I see some questions related to eventually, you know, is China going to have a better competition with the US respect to AI? Yeah, I won't doubt so that China will continue to progress very fast in the AI development. But what does it mean to US company? Let's say we as an investor or trader, assuming that you are investing in companies like Microsoft, right? Not just NVIDIA, right? Let's say Microsoft, Google, and so on. What does it mean to you? Okay, what does it mean to you? Are you worried that with Deepseek, then people will not use Microsoft server or Google server or Amazon server or Meta? Is that the case? What do you think? I'd like you to think about that first so that you understand and don't get panicked, like overly panicked. Do you think people will still use these four company services? Will there be still a demand, or eventually nobody will use Microsoft, nobody will use Google, or nobody will use Amazon or Meta? Is it possible? Yes or no? Okay. First of all, are all these services allowed to be used in China? Do you think people in China will use US services? No, these are already banned in China. So if they're not using in the future, it's not affecting anything. Understand? Yeah, because it's already factored in. I mean, Facebook is banned in China anyway, right? You cannot do that unless you use VPN. Yeah, so it doesn't impact the current demand. And do you think American companies, right? US president, okay, whoever it is going to allow American user to use Chinese services? What do you think? Do you think they will allow Chinese company, Chinese citizen to use Chinese model and server data center? Yes or no? No. So if they cannot use, what do they use? They have to use the US provider. Make sense? So within the US itself, there's a huge demand. Let's look at why there's a huge demand. All this while, without China, right? US itself, all the companies are already using this, right? One of the important part is software company, right? Who are the main user for data center? Let's look at our day-to-day usage, right? If you're using any Gmail, right? Unless you use, any one of you use China Mail, okay? If you're using Gmail or Hotmail, right? All these will require US data center because it's US application. If you're using, let's say the, anything for your company, right? Cloud services like AWS, right? The Copilot, yeah, they're all US, right? So American software company is also the largest in the world, right? China do not have so many software company to have big enough demand for Alibaba and Baidu or Tencent data center, right? So if you ask yourself, where would China data center demand come from, right? If you're Tencent, Alibaba, or Baidu, right? This cloud provider as well, right? They have data center. Earlier, there was a stiff competition and it caused Alibaba share to come down, right? Recently, it started to come back up because, they announced some new AI progress. But before that, you need to understand where does the demand come from. So you look at China. Does China has as many big software companies to demand that much of cloud computing services? Does it have a lot, right? They have a lot of manufacturing companies, but they don't have a lot of software companies provided that are providing all these cloud services. Okay, so because of that, US will always have a strong demand for the data center. Does it make sense? And US are also providing the services not just to Americans, but also to their allies like European. Although now Trump is making more enemies by having sanctions here and there, right? Who are their allies, right? For example, right, US have allies in Europe, right? Earlier it was Canada. Now they're making a bit of an enemy by having a tariff on Canada. Australia, New Zealand. Do you think these countries will be comfortable to use China cloud services or data center? Right? Likely, no. Okay, they will be likely to use US or they will create their own. Okay, yeah. So because of that, companies like Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Meta, do you think will still have their own demand? Yeah, and they are not only providing data center, they are also providing other services that we will need to use. For example, Amazon is an e-commerce company as well, right? Yeah, they will be serving the US and also globally on their e-commerce. Okay, not everyone will buy from Alibaba, right? In the US itself, US is the largest consumer in the world. The US itself have already created enough demand for the American companies. Okay, so this is what I like to help you to understand. Don't be overly panicked. But it doesn't mean it's not a threat at all, right? But it will eat up some of the growth, that's all. But it's not like it's not the doomsday, right? It will, let's say originally, let's say Southeast Asia, right? Will use the US services data center, but now they have a choice, maybe Alibaba, Tencent. For those countries that are not sensitive to keeping data in China, yeah, they may be going for China service, right? So they have a choice. Let's say Malaysia. Will Malaysia government choose China cloud or US cloud? Okay, Malaysia also want to start its own data center where Microsoft and Google, right, are actually helping Malaysia government to set up the data center here, but it is still Microsoft and Google. Okay? If you come for symposium, you will listen to Raja Asmi, right, from Google, which talk about their initiative to help Malaysia government build up, set up the data center in Malaysia. Okay, so I hope that helps you to understand more on this. So let me answer questions from the Mumu live feed. how do you feel AMD is positioned at the moment? Granted, they are in the gray area, but not so much impact in terms of revenue growth for AI. But I can strongly say they can beat Intel in terms of CPU market. Okay, so AMD is right now they are in a low competitive situation, right? So when you look at AMD, you have to look at all the things they provide, right? So it's not a straight comparison with NVIDIA. Okay, the one you want to compare with NVIDIA is two parts, right? GPU and CPU. Okay, so AMD and Intel is in more intense competition. So although today I'm not supposed to be covering AMD in depth, but I just answer this question high level, because a lot of people think that if the AI demand is so high, right, rather than just focusing on NVIDIA, can I focus on AMD? So AMD is lagging behind like couple of years in terms of the GPU. Okay, although it's sell cheaper. If you talk about end user, right, laptop, people may still buy AMD, right, when it's cheaper. But if you talk about high-end server, right, those company that I'm showing here, they will want the best GPU. Okay, so NVIDIA is focusing a lot more on data center, right? So the high-end GPU market, whereas AMD is also in the PC. AMD and Intel are competing in the client market, okay? And some on the data center, but data center is very hard for them to compete with NVIDIA. They may have a smaller market share. The other part that's holding back AMD is they don't have a mature framework like CUDA. Okay, they don't have a software library. Even though they can get a better hardware, people may not want to develop on AMD GPU for AI model, right? NVIDIA is so much more early in terms of developing a more mature development for AI model. Okay, for gaming, maybe AMD can catch up, but for AI, no. So, and it's like 19 years lead, right? So even though AMD want to catch up, I would say that NVIDIA is at least 5 years in advance when it comes to the software libraries. Okay, so this is the part that AMD need to catch up. Okay, so don't look at just the GPU part. Yeah, so NVIDIA, in this case, they are pretty smart on that, right? So they want to look at the ecosystem rather than just compete with hardware. Hardware is very easy for someone else to come with a new hardware. And AMD is held back by the gaming as well, right? Gaming is slow. If you look at the last two AMD earnings report, what holds AMD back is the client computing and gaming. Yeah, what do you mean by client computing? The PC and also that means the laptop and desktop market is slowing because of the high inflation. People are holding back to upgrade their PC, right? The next cycle will be in October, likely a higher upgrade cycle because of Windows 10 end of life. Okay, but then AMD and Intel will be competing. When it comes to CPU, NVIDIA also having their own CPU, and now Apple also having their own CPU, right? So, and Apple would be a big threat to AMD and Intel. So we don't look at just NVIDIA competing, right? NVIDIA CPU has their own CPU, but they're competing in the data center. They don't want to compete in the client, right? Because those are the lower end. But Apple is competing with AMD and Intel. Let me give you an example. I'm the type who is very I'm very focused on using Windows, right? I work in AMD for 5 years, Intel for 12 years. Okay, so all this while, my laptop are Intel chip. Okay, also Windows based, because traditionally a lot of the trading software will be published first release in Windows first. I'm already very used to the navigation. So my husband, Terence, is a Mac user. He has been asking me to convert to Mac for a long time, and I resisted until finally 1 month plus back, I already converted to Mac Pro, right? The M4 Pro for my desktop, because it's the most powerful right now. So if I transition, means it tells a lot, right? So, and a few people in our company already migrated to the M4 Pro, the Mac Mini. Yeah, the Mac Mini M4 Pro, including those of you, like we see a lot of our students here, our very active intraday trader, Lee Chai, right? Wei Hao, our options trader, and also our program manager. Well, we are all converted to Mac Mini, right? So why? Because M4 is the fastest chip right now on the client. Okay, yeah, so it's better than Intel, better than AMD, and it's using ARM architecture. So Intel and AMD has one big problem, is because they are stuck to x86, right? This is a bit technical. They are stuck to x86, whereas Apple is using ARM technology. So Microsoft is moving to that, right? Microsoft is also impacted. That's why you see Microsoft stock is at the support level, near the support. It's not taking off after the earnings, because they are spending. Microsoft stock is a bit weak right now, mainly because the support is still holding. That's the good news, because the investment in the infrastructure cause people to worry whether they can recover back the revenue so fast. Okay, so that doesn't mean it's a bad company. The other aspect is the Windows Surface laptop, right, is also having a slowdown due to people not upgrading. On top of that, is having a stiff competition with the M4 chip from Apple. Okay, so Microsoft is also developing ARM processor for its Surface laptop, but it takes time, right? Because they have to develop. You see, this is the same challenge for NVIDIA. I mean, this is the advantage for NVIDIA, right? It already developed the whole ecosystem for the software library. It started training people during the university, right? So they already have it as a curriculum to university. So when they graduate, you can hire a lot of people who already know CUDA, right? But AMD don't have that, okay? So they have to start doing those, developing those ecosystem. So Windows is the same, right? You already have Windows OS running on x86, right? As a layer, right? Windows OS. So now you have to develop the whole Windows OS on the ARM architecture. Okay, this the software stack. So once you develop the Windows OS, right, on ARM architecture, then you can have all the software on top that doesn't need to worry about the hardware side. Okay, so this is the why it is slower for Microsoft to transition to ARM. But once it can transition to ARM, because ARM has a better architecture, then it can be faster. It can start to compete back with Apple. And now you know why Apple is moving fast, right? There's two reasons for Apple stocks. Recent relative strength is better because of two main news. One is they have a better chip for M4. The other reason is their partnership with Alibaba, right, to deploy the AI model for Apple phone in China. Okay, which also helped Alibaba recently. Right, so I hope that answer for AMD. Right, remember AMD has four things. The CPU on the client is not is slow until the next upgrade cycle, and gaming is slow. Right, slow them down. You can read their earnings report. You will know. The third one is CPU for the data center cannot compete with NVIDIA. Right, also the GPU cannot compete with NVIDIA. Right, so this is, and also there's one more that helps them, which is the embedded. Okay, yeah, so there's four different things for AMD. So you cannot look at AMD just based on AI alone. Okay, so now and the chart can tells you a lot. Yeah. Okay, so now let's look at the I'll move forward. On the right hand side, we'll give you a picture on the traditional data center versus in 2026. So what I want to highlight over here related to the left hand side is, you see the traditional data center demand, like cloud computing, already growing. Okay, and the cryptocurrency also has a demand, okay, for the power generation and so on. And AI is this much on it, right? Dedicated AI. So even and AI won't shrink until zero, right? So even if it shrink to half, it is still growth here, right? There's still growth of data center. So does everyone understand? If you can understand what I'm talking about, yeah, just type a yes, okay? At least I'm not losing you. I am talking a bit fast because I still want to go to the charts, which I haven't. Okay, so the first part is to gain your understanding. Okay, good. So this one is just additional information. A ChatGPT query needs 10 times as much electricity to process as a Google search. Okay, so 10 times more. That's why it needs a lot more power. Right, that's where the power infrastructure stocks are bullish. Okay, then this is additional slides. I will just go through this briefly. Is the electricity consumption growth in the US. Okay, even without AI, there is already a demand because a lot of their infrastructure is already old, obsolete, and they need to rebuild it. And the moderate demand growth is already 5%. Right, if the AI comes in to require a lot more electricity, then it may go to 10% and 15% annual growth. Okay, so this itself will be beneficial to power generation company and also those that construct those power generation infrastructure. Okay, so in summary, Deepseek represent a significant development in AI because it really challenged the existing paradigm, right? That you can be more efficient. So this challenged the big spender on data center. However, you know that they still want to use the best, right? And they already reaffirm, at least for this year. Right? Next year is different story, right? So all these big tech, the four big guys, already committed to spend more on data center this year. So what we need to monitor is next year, right? Are they still spending that much or are they reducing? Okay, so that's what you need to monitor. Yeah. because right now they are behind catching up because they are still waiting for NVIDIA Blackwell machine, which is backlog, right? So they were having some heating problem earlier. So there was some delay in the shipping to all these 4 big tech. Only one of them have received so far. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's Amazon, right? I need to validate that. So the rest are still waiting for them, right? So they they're having the demand, but they don't have the supply, okay? Yeah, so the next one is there's a concern of data privacy. And because of this, US will not allow Americans or American companies to use China server, right? The good thing is it's open source. So you can see that within the day itself and the next day, Microsoft and Amazon already provide the ability for you to use Deepseek in their server. Okay, that means they're still making money from that, like all the access. But for US, Australia, and South Korea already banned the use of Deepseek using government device. Okay. By being open source, right? This make it more flexible, right? You can host it in America. And okay, so what I want to conclude here is despite the alarming market reaction on many data center stocks, we need to understand that the demand for data center is beyond AI. The demand for GPU is beyond AI. It's cloud computing, it's the big data. Okay, so and also the power generation, even without AI coming in, American companies still need a lot of data, right? Earlier, just from crypto mining server, right? They already don't have enough power. Okay, yeah. So the last thing here is the big tech will still want the latest CPU and GPU, which means NVIDIA will have a demand. Okay, so let me answer one question here. What are the possible implications for the recent 2025 France AI Summit on global AI policy, developments, investment, ecosystems, and so on? Okay, so to be honest, I haven't read the details of the impact, but to me, right, as long as we are investing in a US company, right, what I want to share is here. US itself, right, is the largest consumer spender in the world, and it has the most big tech and the most software companies and the most amount of users. That as long as US, right, America will protect their own turf, and that will already have sufficient demand. And their allies will prefer to use US versus China. Okay, so whatever come out from the global summit, right, I don't think that will be a big impact, right? Unless, let's say, within the European country, they do not want to use US services, that may cut down some of the demand. Okay, so what do we conclude here is, remember, we need to manage the risk, right? I'm not saying that Deepseek there's no risk. So you cannot be focusing on all the data center related stocks, right? You need to have other stocks, right? The software companies will benefit because lower cost. Then you can diversify into some fintech, right? Some gold. Gold is bullish as well, right? Some consumer staples, right? So you should not be putting everything on data center or cloud computing, okay, or GPU, right? Especially semicon is more sensitive right now. Okay, so now I want to make sure I can cover some charts, right, before we conclude. So I will cover charts. Then I also cover some of the Mumu feature, which will help you to look at the like when there's a Deepseek as a team, right, investment team, they actually have a feature to look at what are the correlated stocks. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, this is something new that they provide. So if you stay back after that, right, I know we are coming close to 9 o'clock. If you stay back, I can cover a brief overview on those features as well. Okay, but now I like to show you the chart impact. I will show a few stocks on this area, right? So yesterday we just have okay, let me show you NVIDIA first. This is a hot stock. What happened on that day, right, of the Deepseek, right? So this is the news, right, on the 27th, right, before market open, the news came out and it caused a big gap down for NVIDIA. Okay, so this is the gap, right? Market close here, market open here, right? So this is the gap. Right? So if you look at how big is the gap for NVIDIA, like from here to here is 12.5%. It's not as big as some of the other stocks here, right? So let me clear. This is the power infrastructure stocks, right? This is close to 20%, right? So it's the panic reaction, but now it's climbed up back slowly. right? So if you understand what I shared with you just now, do you agree that you could have the confidence, right, to buy here? Understand? Yeah, and this happened to be a good support area, right? So all of students will understand why weekly EMA 50 and this is a daily EMA 200, which is a technical support, but we also need to validate using our intraday skills that this support hold. And of course, build up with the confidence of what I shared just now, that is an over panic reaction, right? Then you'll be able to collect some here, right? Gradually with protection. I use options to trade it, right? With a better protection. Then gradually, as it climbs back up here, it stabilizes, right? Then you can trade it. But take care of earnings. So there's the earnings announcement. In fact, here they beat expectation. Look at it. They beat. They have a surprise, positive surprise on revenue and EPS. Like BRT is one of the infrastructure provider for power. So, but what actually caused the stock to come down here yesterday after the earnings announcement is because their forecast was just close to in line, right? Slightly lower than what the people expect. Okay, so you need to let it stabilize. We share with our students, do not get back into stocks that just announced earnings, right? Until let it stabilize for at least 5 days. Okay, but the good news is other infrastructure stock, right, are still holding on to the support. You can see here, this is one of the stock that I buy, right? VST. After the panic, I can see a good support here, right? So within this day, I let it stabilize, trade intraday first. Then here, I keep it overnight. Yeah, here's when I enter the stocks and I use the options to enter and to protect it, right? So I don't have time to cover how I trade it. Options maybe is another sharing on my trades on this VST, right? So this is how I trade it, and because I understand it's an overreaction, okay, overreaction. Okay, and same for the NVIDIA here, right? Just now I mentioned there's a big dip over here, right? But there's a support, right? This is the a good support where it's overpenalized. NVIDIA was overvalued stocks here. Okay, here is still overvalued. Why is it overvalued? Because the P is still high, right? People are willing to pay for NVIDIA for future growth. Okay, for stocks like this, usually you can't find undervalue, but this is the level people willing to come in, right? So normally for stocks like this, you let it stabilize first, right? And you can trade it intraday. So I trade intraday until it stabilize. Here, stay back above here, then only I enter into the trade again. Right? So, but right now, it is a bit lack of momentum, I would say. Right? I will not suggest that you put, so much into NVIDIA. But if you want to trade it intraday, yes, you can see here, right? 130 support is there, right? Yesterday, there is a CPI announcement, so it became a bit shaky, right? Yeah, you can see last week, whenever the Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, when they announced earnings and they said the capex is higher, you can see the NVIDIA stock recovered during that time, right? This was the one I mentioned, okay? So this is why understanding the industry insights, right, can help you a lot. Let me show you what I mean here. Yeah, this one. Right, when you have Microsoft announce earnings, right, Google announce earnings, Amazon, and each one of them increase the investment. Yeah, on that day itself, if you understand what it means, you could have traded intraday because the stock reacted positively. So the first one, let's say when you want to trade, example, right, the first that announced earnings was Meta and Microsoft, right? So this one, although Microsoft came down because they spent a lot on Microsoft came down after the earnings because they spent a lot on infrastructure, but it was good for NVIDIA chip. Okay, so let's look at this one. Right, this is 30th of January. And let's look at what happened on the 30th of January here. Yeah, NVIDIA stock rebound on the support. Yeah, because Microsoft said I will invest more on it. Then where the next one is Meta. Okay, Meta earnings here, right? Meta is very positive. Yeah. So Meta earnings here on the 29th, and also Amazon. Oh, sorry. I think Amazon has the biggest investment. Yeah. So on this day, which is the 6th of February, right? Let's look at NVIDIA on 6th of February. Right. Over here. Yeah. These two, because of Amazon increased the infrastructure spending, NVIDIA was able to recover until here. Understand? So this is how you have additional confidence from both the technical chart and understanding what's going on. Okay, moving forward, I'm not a crystal ball, right? Because the market, remember, the market is not only affected by what's happening to the Deepseek or NVIDIA. It's also related to what is happening today. For example, today we have the PPI announcement. Okay, so yesterday we have CPI, right? CPI was higher than expected. By right, the market should be down. Okay, by right, based on normal reaction, but the market went up. So it's actually a very good news to me when this happened. Okay, that means market is confident. So this is the one. Last week, the inflation expectation is higher than expected. So the market came down. Also, Google was negative, right? But this is very positive. Yesterday, the CPI was higher than expected, inflation higher, and people expect the interest rate to be reduced later. In fact, now it's July, based on the earliest, later than July. So, but why the market go up, right? That means they're still confident with whatever Trump is doing right now, okay? Yeah, so it is still positive. Yeah, the market recovered. Look at the QQQ recovered yesterday, despite the bad news. I would consider the news as bad, okay? And the SPY hold above 600. Okay, that means from a technical standpoint, right, there's confidence in the market, right? And the volume is also going up. Yeah, volume is also going up. So what does it mean to this? If you have not, if you can understand what I'm sharing, right? There's, some of the infrastructure stocks. These are some of the stocks that are, this is Constellation Energy, right? One of the infrastructure stocks for data center. You can see after the gap down, it recovered. Usually you find a better support to get back in, right? So I'm not here to spoon feed. I mean, for our students, you understand what I'm sharing. You use the process map, right? We have a exact entry and exit rule for investor, right? For trend trader, for swing trader, and for intraday, right? You just follow the process map to trade it. But I'm sharing with you to gain you additional confidence on what's going on for this stock, right? For those who attended our Industry Insights booster last Saturday, we give you 50 over watch list on this, right? So about 26 stocks on data center and about 24 or 25 stocks on cloud computing, right? So we look at those lists. I also go color, we color coded it to green means the better one, yellow, the next level, and red color is a warning, right? Don't go for that. Right, so look at those lists. Right, so we spend more than an hour just reviewing so many charts that time. Yeah. So today my focus is to help you understand the Deepseek impact. Okay. So let me see whether there's anything else here. Like VST, right, is also one of those stocks I mentioned, right, that was impacted. Can you see the big gap down here? Right. After that, it formed a support, right? So you combine your understanding of the stock and where is the support, right? That will give you confidence, right? So I managed to catch quite a number of this because I think it's over panic. And also like Meta, right? Meta is the one among the big four, is the one that can recover the investment on AI the fastest. So the rest are weak. The rest of the big tech are weak because people don't have confidence they can recover so fast. And Meta was the only one that reported, right, they are gaining a great return from the AI. So you can see Meta is so different. Like it's, let me remove this first, not to confuse you. Right, it's still going up, but don't chase it. Okay, at this level, right? I don't suggest that you chase it. It's already pretty stretched. Okay, yeah. So any questions beyond that? Because now we already or some audience requested to, okay, Google. Okay, so there's a few requests to look at. Okay, Google relatively is a bit weak. So one thing that I shared with our students is this, right? When the relative strength is weak, right? The market is going up. Market means what? QQQ up. Okay, QQ as a long candle that day, right? Long candle. I don't have time to share what happening to Google here. Okay. Okay, sorry. But Google is strong or weak, right? It's weak. Okay, it's weak, but it's sideways, not too bad. Right, so it's at a weekly EMA 20 where usually investor may come in at this level, but I don't like the weakness. So you don't have to, just go for Google. I would say this is not as normal, right? So there could be a few reasons. It's not that Google is a bad share. People may be concerned with them falling behind. In fact, now if you look at the most popular GPT, right? People think about ChatGPT, then the next one is Deepseek. Right, so Gemini may fall behind in terms of popularity. They have to do a lot more to catch up. But what if they announce something, right? Because Google have Waymo, right? Auto Drive, they have what is cooking. I mean, they have Waymo expanding. They also have the what they call that, quantum computing, but that may take a couple of years more. Okay, but they have to really show that they can compete with Gemini, right? So if they are able to announce something positive, then it may recover. Right now it's still a bit weak. Okay? Yeah, so I hope that answer that. Don't buy a stock just because it's at the bottom, right? Yeah, so if you need to understand why it's so weak, right? Sometimes you press on the news and it will tell you why. Okay. Yeah. So, but from the chart standpoint, I say it's relative quite weak. It's not the ideal stock to go for. But if you know how to use options, then there's a way where you can enter a cheap deal, because I've looked at the Google implied volatility is very low. That give you a low price entry, right, for Google. Yeah, for Broadcom, I think Broadcom is one of the positive benefit. So in fact, Broadcom is actually overvalued, by the way. Yeah, people are paying for the future, but there's more confidence on Broadcom than the Nvidia recovery over here based on just a stock chart. Mainly because Nvidia has more controversy, right, compared to Broadcom. Broadcom, the main competitor is Cisco, and you can see here from the chart reaction here, right? It's a bit negative here. Cisco, right, just announced earnings. Also one of the provider related to data center networking, right? It has a gap up today. So those of you who know intraday, right, you can look for some intraday opportunities today. Right, so make sure that you follow what we shared with you on intraday trading, the process map, the scenario planning, right? Don't chase the market. So there's a nice setup over here. Right, but there's still another one hour plus to go, right? So things can change pre-market. Yeah. So if you are not intraday trader, then wait for the support. Okay, don't chase after it, or wait for either breakout or support. Okay, so this shows that I haven't managed to read the report because I'm preparing for this today. So you can actually read up the outcome from Cisco earning. Yeah. So because they could represent the industry, right? So when they say positive about the growth, then it will also help the related industry. But based on what we see here, it seems to be negative on Broadcom, right? By right, if it goes up together, that means they say something about the big demand. But if not, it could be they eat into each other profit margin, right? Yeah. So for Avago, it's very choppy, right? I mean, the Broadcom is quite choppy. This is more of interim support, I would say, right? The 230. Yeah, what I've drawn here. 230. This is the level you can trade intraday. Okay. I don't think this is a level you want to enter for swing or trend. Okay, you don't have a good margin of safety, right? Unless it pulls back to around this level, right? Normally what I do is if I enter at this level, I will enter options trade that give me a protection to that even if it comes down to here, I will still be positive, right? So there are options trade like this that we teach our students. Okay, that means you if you get pullback, then you can do a covered call or you can do a bull call spread. Okay, all right. So I hope I cover that. So the last one, one more request is MU. Okay, Micron has been very big because after the Deepseek, it actually already recovered. I think I posted for our industry insight students about this support earlier, right? This is actually a very good support. After post earnings, they were over penalized. Then it recovered, right? It recovered over here. But the Deepseek problem caused you to come back down. Then it start to range bound, right? So it's likely going to be this yo-yo here, but I think the new support is 88, right? No longer 85 right now. So I don't think it will be that bullish because of the Nvidia concern. Nvidia and Micron is very highly correlated right now, right? So unless looking for Nvidia earnings, because Micron earnings is over. So I will be having a YouTube live on Nvidia earnings. So take note of the date, right? So that's this one. 26th February is the earnings after market close. So on 27, which is a Thursday, I'll be doing another sessions like this. So then we can look at the outcome because Nvidia will have a chain reaction, okay, to across the board. The most important thing on Nvidia earnings would be their forecast on the growth, okay, because they will not be growing as fast as before, right? And people will be skeptical. Definitely, the Q&A on Deepseek will be there from the analysts. The most important is have they solved their overheating issue, because if they have not solved that effectively, then that will delay the deployment to all these big tech, right? Then the earnings will be captured later quarters. Yeah. So one of the risks that you need to take note of is if there's any news that you know, the overheating issues is still a concern. And then they have to take longer to solve the problem before they can ship the Blackwell, because Blackwell is their high profit margin product. Okay, so keep our finger crossed, hopefully. That's why don't over-invest in a particular stock, right? Anything can happen with ad hoc news. But it is because of all this uncertainty that the stock is cheaper. Okay, so for all these stocks that are having this volatility, the best strategy right now that match this is actually either you trade it intraday or you use options to cover the risk. Okay, or if you want to trade swing, you don't chase it only when it comes to good support. Okay, that because it could be range bound for a while. It's range bound because there's some concern. Okay, so now I will need to cover the remaining slides because it's already late. Yeah. So I hope you benefited from this. And right, for those of you who don't have a strategy, right, you will not be able to benefit from this, right? So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and crisis is also opportunity if you understand the industry impact, right? But if you are relatively new, okay, then or you are experienced but you don't have a methodology to capture this, then what I would suggest, you can join our webinar, right? We have a 3-hour free webinar where we will share with you the systematic methodology as an investor, right? Growth investing, swing, and trend, right? It's called versatile trading, right? Versatile trading. Then you can understand what it takes to invest or trade in the US market with a systematic methodology, right? So then if you want to join our course there, you can decide, right? Even if you don't join the course, at the end of the seminar, it will still be very beneficial to you, right? To understand what is a systematic approach with proper risk management. Okay, on top of that, I also want to share with you, you know, this session is also, we run this coordinating with Mumu because it's live feed to the Mumu forum as well. There's a promotion. If you join, if you already have a Mumu account or you have not, you can deposit a 1,800. There'll be a lot of rewards, right? Even 1,000 deposit, you will get 100 cash. Okay, and the other promotion you can actually read over here, right? We can share the link. They can actually read it or scan this QR code. Okay, so there's a lot of great features on the industry correlation that are like in the Mumu platform. In fact, there's still a lot more feature to explore. Okay, so if you want to inquire more on the Beyond Insights courses, it could be on our foundation or the more advanced course, right? We have a beginner's course, we have advanced, we also have mastery level, right? Like this, today's level is like mastery level, like industry insights, macro insights, or the company insights. Okay, so you can chat with us. So we can, our team can chat with you to see what is actually more suitable to you. Okay, so now let me show you some of the great features from Mumu. Okay, if you have, this is on, Mumu has 2 platforms. Okay, more than 2. One is the mobile version. Okay, on the desktop, I like to use the desktop because I'm an advanced user. When it comes to trading, right, I need all my desktop on. Yeah. So maybe one day I'll show you my whole trading environment setup. Yeah. So if you look at the Mumu NX, right? So when you're attending live, you're probably on the Mumu standard platform. But on the website, or you can do a Google search, Mumu NX, N for no, right? X. Okay. Yeah, N and X. Download, right? Then you can download the Mumu NX. Mumu NX is the latest release. Whenever there's something new, they will release on the NX version first. So when you come to the Mumu NX, you can see there's a markets here. Then there's a watch. Click on the markets. Like you can write this down, or you can replay this video right, on the YouTube live later. When you click on markets, right, and you click on United States, right, you can see they support many countries here, right? There's a team over here, like United States home. If you trade Malaysia, then you can click on Malaysia. Okay, so in the under United States, you can see the top gainers, top loser. So you know what stock are moving. However, I won't suggest this for beginner, right? If you're an advanced user, you already traded for a while, yes. Otherwise, you'll be dealing with stocks that you don't know at all, right? A lot of this could be emerging stock. Okay, emerging stock normally percentage change is high, but the risk is also high. Right, then there's a hit list. These are the top stock, right? Because you can sort by percentage later on. Yeah, not at this view. Later on, I will show you another view. Right, the high dividend stock. This one normally for Malaysian trader more popular. In the US, we don't look at dividends for growth stock. Then there's a heat map here. Right, so you can click on this arrow here. Right, can you see it? Just let me go back. You can click on this heat map arrow. Then it will tell you which is red, which is green. Which one is positive or negative today. Okay, which is like those of students have seen it in the Finviz as well. This is a different view, and you can see which one is higher percentage. So you know, okay, consumer electronics is moving today, right? Then you click on consumer electronics. Then here it shows you at the bottom what are the constituent, what are the stocks within the consumer electronics, and then you can sort by percentage change here, right? So depend whether you want to long or short, right? So this is also great for intraday traders if you want to look at what are the movers for the day. Right, for those who have attended our intraday course, right? So, and I wouldn't suggest that you trade any stocks out there, right? So if you find here, oh, okay, there's an Apple, okay, and you're really good with Apple and you have all your support resistance, then this will be the fastest. Otherwise, you need a lot more time to look at all these stocks, okay? Yeah, I don't simply just trade any stocks because of this, but I may look at the chart. So the good thing is, and you double click, right? Straight away, you jump into the chart. And those of you who knows options, right? You can look at the option chain here. Straight away, there's an option chain here. Okay, yeah. All right, so and there's a valuation. You can check on the valuation as well. Yeah, but first you need to understand how to read all this. Yeah, so this is one of the great features you can explore. And I just want to share with you one thing. Like if you click on this under this search button, if you click on search, you can type a particular theme. So right now the hot topic is Deepseek. So you can type Deepseek. Okay, then you will have two options here. One is US, one is Hong Kong. So let's say you click on US. Okay, click on US. Then you click on constituents. Yeah, constituents. It will tell you the stock that are related to the Deepseek theme. Okay, positive or negative impacted. But it could be overwhelming if you are new, right? Because there's like 53 stocks, right? What do you do? On that day itself, for example, that is the day where it dipped. What you can do here is you click on percentage change, right? For example, this one, nothing to do with the Deepseek as of today. This was, I look at this stock, it went up because there's an earnings announcement. It happened to be having positive earnings, right? So before that, it was a flat, right, until here. There's some intelligence behind. I don't understand the algorithm, right? They have their own algorithm to correlate Deepseek and this stock. But you may come up with a lot of stock that you don't know, okay? So I would advise that don't be so formal, like fear of missing out. I just want to share with you there's such feature. When you can cope with this, for example, our advanced trader, like those of you who have attended our industry insight course and understand how to look at emerging stocks, like some of these are emerging stocks like Palantir and so on, and you're really good at TA or intraday, then you can use this feature and look at the top mover for the day, right? It's just another alternative compared to what we have teach you on how to screen the mover. All right, so what do you think about this feature? Okay, so Moomin still have a lot of features. I just didn't have time to cover so many. For our students, we will be conducting a Moomoo platform training on, let me show you the date, right? Those of you who are students, because we will show you exactly how to enter into the Moomoo platform. Those of you who still need some guidance on how to use it. Let me find it. On next Monday. Okay, next Monday. So watch out for our communication. I think we have posted in our internal Facebook forum. It will be 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We'll be covering the overall platform navigation, how to enter a trade with profit target and stop loss, and also some of the useful features, watch this as well. Okay, so block your time, and there'll be a series of students asking how to use the options feature. So options will schedule a separate one because you need to use the foundation first. Okay, yeah. So once you get used to the foundation, and our next options workshop is coming up soon for the Options Pro. We'll be using the Moomoo platform for the option chain as well. Okay, so it's good that you get familiar with the platform also. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope this is beneficial to you. So for those of you who are interested, any one of you interested to get this slide, okay? So because we also want to understand more about you, right? So that we know how to tailor for the topics as well. So appreciate if you can, fill up the feedback form, the subscriber, right? So click on the subscribe over there. And also, if you find this useful, do share with more friends, right? So we can also reach out to more people who, may not know how to take advantage of opportunity or panic too much, right? Yeah, during information like this. So if you fill up if you subscribe, then you will get this PowerPoint. Yeah, you get this PowerPoint material and you can digest it, especially, all the events. And also this one is a useful summary for a lot of people. Okay, so that's it for the session, and highly encourage you to join our webinar, right? Which is the Global Investing Made Simple 3-hour session. And the next session is actually on this Sunday, right? So I'll be conducting the sessions on Saturday morning. Sorry, this Saturday morning is our next session, right? If you miss this, then you can look at our website to see whether there's, you can look at the other selections if you cannot make it for this Saturday morning. Yeah, this Saturday morning is 9:30 to 12:30. There'll be a session. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next session. Our next session will be on the NVIDIA earnings. Lex, is there anything next week in case I missed anything?
No, so far it's the
Will be
NVIDIA 27.
Yeah. Okay. Next session will be 27th, Thursday, which is post NVIDIA earnings at 8 p.m. All right. And right, see you next time. And do give us a feedback in the chat. Yeah, do give a feedback in the chat as well. As to whether you find this session beneficial and what you like to look for next, and click on the link to download the slides for today if you are interested.